What's up, everyone? I'm Leah B. Jackson, and I'm really excited because Counter-Strike is celebrating its 15th anniversary. It's not that many games that reach, its 15th birthday, so we wanted to bring on IGN's biggest Counter-Strike fan, Sean Finnegan,
hello,
to talk more about Counter-Strike, where it came from, all that good stuff. So let us in on the mist of Counter-Strike.
So Counter-Strike is a first-person shooter focused entirely on multiplayer that started out as a mod for Half-Life in 1999. It was one of the first big competitive first-person shooters, and it was the first one that sort of had a competitive scene sprout up around it. And I think one of the things that made it so interesting for people was it was one of those games that definitively proved that gameplay trumps graphics, right? Like, if you look at this game, it is not a pretty game. Like, the models look kind of funny. The maps are really, in terms of textures, like, not visually very fidelic. That's just not a word. But what made it play so awesome was the hitboxes were great. The recoil on the guns felt awesome. The movement was incredible and pinpoint every time, and it made it super, super fun and really skill-based. And so it kind of fostered in this great competitive scene.
Right, it was sort of the first big competitive first-person shooter out
absolutely.
there. And it seems like you're about to tell us sort of about the tournaments and everything that blossomed because of this amazing game.
Yeah, so in the first 2 years, it kind of was iterated upon by its developers, and after that, it kind of sprouted up this big competitive scene here in North America and abroad. Like, particularly in the Scandinavian countries and in Europe, there were all these really, really good teams, and there were also really great teams here in America. And it spawned things like Cal League and CPL, which are professional leagues where you could go and win money as a professional gamer.
Totally.
That kind of provided the foundation for things like MLG and LCS that we see for games like Halo and Call of Duty and League of Legends and Dota going forward in today's world.
Yeah.
And one of the really interesting things is this is still a really highly played game on Steam. No longer 1.6, which was sort of the
fan favorite,
as it were.
That was definitely the mode I played, or the version that I played the most was 1.6.
And that's the most tight version. Now there's Global Offensive, which is a sort of spiritual successor to the game. There's, purists will always say that it's not going to be as good as 1.6.
Right.
I'm actually in the same camp, but I play Global Offensive and I find it very fun. But nowadays, it's one of those games where it has such a long history and such a long sort of tenure as a highly skill-oriented shooter that it kind of, you toss Call of Duty players in there and Battlefield players, and they find it really punishing. And that's the type of game that you don't really see in shooters anymore, and that's why I think it's one of the coolest games ever.
And, I mean, do you think that, it just hit its 15th anniversary, does it have 15 more years ahead of it? Or?
I certainly hope so. I mean, what's really incredible is from its debut on, well, actually it didn't debut on Steam, but it started on a WAN ID system before it changed over to the Steam ID system. So that was another one of the really cool things, was that transition. But from its debut on Steam, it was the top played first-person shooter, actually one of the top played games on Steam, all the way up until like 2010.
Right.
And for a game that old to be that highly played and that widely regarded as one of the best multiplayer games out there for so long, like, that you can only put it in the same ballpark as like StarCraft Brood War. Like, that's the only other game that I can think of off the top of my head which had such a long
legacy
run.
Yeah, totally.
And so I certainly hope that, if Valve continues to develop along the lines of, skill-based gameplay, like tactical shooting, like strategy, movement, aim, and positioning, like the things that make shooters great, then we'll see another 15 years. And hopefully when I'm 40 years old, I'll still be playing Counter-Strike.
Well, hopefully. I mean, I think that'll do it. But happy birthday, Counter-Strike.
Yes, happy birthday, Counter-Strike.
Yay, happy birthday. Here's to more birthdays, and for more on Counter-Strike, stay tuned to IGN.